Welcome to The Explainer. So, at midnight on January 31st, 2026, the clock ran out and parts of the US government officially shut down. Let's get right into what's going on here.
And I know what you're thinking. A government shutdown? Again? Yeah, but hold on. This isn't the story you think you know. Forget those huge, drawn-out shutdowns from the past. This time, things are, well, they're a lot different.
Right, so we're not talking about a repeat of last year's record-breaking 43-day marathon that just brought Washington to a standstill. Nope. This is a partial shutdown, hitting only specific agencies, and honestly, everyone was hoping it'd be over in a flash. But there's a new political fight that's making everything way more complicated.
Okay, so what's the real hang-up here? Well, it's not about the whole federal budget, not even close. This entire shutdown, believe it or not, boils down to this really high-stakes battle over funding for just one department, Homeland Security.
So this whole thing really caught fire after the shooting death of Alex Preddy by federal agents up in Minneapolis. That tragic event has led Democrats to demand some major reforms to the Department of Homeland Security, and especially one of its agencies, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which you probably know as ICE.
And listen, they are not messing around with vague promises here. Before they'll even think about approving any long-term funding, Democrats are laying down a very specific set of demands. Federal officers have to wear body cameras, those cameras have to be on, agents can't wear masks, and they want an end to some of these really controversial patrol tactics.
And they've drawn a super clear line in the sand. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer basically said, if our colleagues aren't willing to make real change, they shouldn't expect any Democratic votes. It's pretty simple. They're using their leverage to force this issue. Big time.
All right, so how did we even get here? Let's dive into the political chess game that's been playing out. To try and stop a total shutdown, the Senate actually came up with what seemed like a pretty clever two-part fix.
They passed this big package that funds most of the government for the long haul, but for the Department of Homeland Security, the one at the center of all the drama, they only included a 2-week stopgap measure. The whole idea was just to buy a little more time, to keep these really intense negotiations going. And get this, the deal sailed through the Senate with a strong bipartisan vote of 71 to 29. It really looked like they had a breakthrough. But, as it turns out, that was the easy part, because now the battle has completely shifted over to the House of Representatives.
Okay, this is where the whole plan just falls apart. The Senate passes the deal, right? The idea was for a quick, simple vote in the House on Monday, get everything reopened, no problem. But that's exactly when they slammed into a major wall. House Democrats basically said, nope, we're not playing along.
See, the initial plan from Speaker Mike Johnson was to use this special fast-track procedure. It's called suspension of the rules. And what you need to know is that it requires a big 2/3 majority to pass. That means he absolutely needed a lot of Democrats to vote with him.
But that help is just not coming. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries made it crystal clear his party won't help fast-track the bill. He said they need an ironclad path forward on those ICE reforms they're demanding before they'll even consider speeding things up.
So, with the House locked in this stalemate, what does this shutdown actually mean for you, right? Let's look at the real-world impact of all this.
Well, it's really a mixed bag. As you can see, some critical areas are totally unaffected. Thanks to some earlier funding deals, food assistance programs like SNAP and WIC are safe, and other things, like getting a passport, are continuing like normal. But over in the affected column, you've got employees at huge departments like the Pentagon, Transportation, and of course Homeland Security, and they're all working right now without pay. And because the Democrats blocked that fast-track vote, the bill now has to go through this much slower, more formal process. It all kicks off with the Rules Committee on Monday, which means a final vote isn't expected until Tuesday at the very earliest. This whole thing is now dragging on longer than anyone wanted.
And this really gets to the heart of the matter. Even if this short shutdown ends next week, remember, they've only given themselves 2 weeks to solve this incredibly divisive fight over immigration enforcement. So this little puzzle we're watching right now, it might just be the preview for a much, much bigger fight in 2 weeks. And yeah, the clock is already ticking.